Welcome to the Goalbusters Expert Peak Productivity Tips podcast, where top business experts get just 7 minutes to answer 5 rapid-fire questions about what they do and how they stay productive. Each episode is packed with actionable insights to help boost your efficiency and achieve your goals. Let's dive in and unlock the secrets to peak performance. Well, hello everybody. My name is Robin J. Emden and I am the creator and author of the Get Resultsology system and a dedicated accountability coach. My mission is to empower solopreneurs to unlock their true potential, boost their income and achieve extraordinary success by maximizing productivity, streamlining their businesses and aligning their goals with their authentic vision and purpose. If you're ready to turn ambition into action and transform your goals into reality, you're in exactly the right place. And I'm delighted to welcome our guest expert today, Rain Bennett. Rain is the co-founder and CCO of Heartfelt, as well as an award-winning filmmaker, author, keynote speaker, and storytelling coach. He hosts a weekly podcast called The Storytelling Lab, which features the top storytellers in the world, and recently released his first book, 6-Second Stories. In 20 years and over 1,000 interviews, he has realized one consistent truth. Stories hold a profound power, but only if one knows how to tell them effectively and who needs to hear them most. Rain, welcome to Goalbusters.
Happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here too. And whereabouts are you in the world, Rain?
I am in the United States on the East Coast in North Carolina, a town called Durham, North Carolina. I believe you have one of those in your country.
We certainly do. I'm guessing, but I might be wrong. It was probably we got there first, but I could be wrong.
It tends to happen that way.
It does tend to happen.
We borrowed a few things, maybe.
You borrowed a few, yes. Well, we don't want them back. You're welcome. But,
we have. It's always the new version. Like in North Carolina, there's a town near where I grew up called New Bern, and of course New York, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. I live just a few miles away from Plymouth, and I think there are about 26 of those in the world. So,
yeah, lots in the U.S.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so shall we start the questions?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'll get the clock up, and then we can start. There it goes. Rain, could you tell me, please? Let's talk about what you do. So who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is any brand, any business or brand that is overwhelmed and under-resourced. So they have a short runway. They're trying to do it all themselves. And that typically looks like it can be startups. They deal with those challenges, small to medium business owners, nonprofits, even solopreneurs, which is how I would categorize myself. All of these types of businesses don't have a lot of money, don't have a lot of time, and they're trying to do way too many things at once. So that is kind of where I fall, and that's because my background is as a documentary filmmaker. And what I've done my whole career is to tell stories effectively without a lot of resources.
Fantastic. And can you see me leaning in as I get more and more interested in everything you say right there? I'm like,
I'd love to see it.
I like this, yeah. So
I'll meet you in the middle.
So I'm sure you solve many, but could you give us an indication of the problem or problems that you solve for those people?
The main problem I solve is being what I call a fractional CSO, a chief storytelling officer. So that means aligning the whole business and brand, no matter how large or how small, internally and externally, horizontally and vertically, using storytelling as a communication and engagement device. So we are all subscribed to the same narrative. That means any external communication is aligned with that narrative, as well as any internal communication and any direction, any roles played by anyone on the team. We are all on the same page. We are all living out the same story in this business.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's very clear and easy to understand, which is what storytelling should be, isn't it? So
it should be. Yeah.
That's an excellent answer. Thank you so much. So third question is, what is one valuable free action that our audience can implement that will help them to solve this problem?
The most valuable free action you can take to become a better storyteller is to listen, is to become a story listener. It's okay, Rain. That sounds all nice. What does that mean? That means have a practice where you mine for stories. Have a practice in your company where you just have a 1 hour meeting, and it's to listen to your people, your stakeholders, your employees, your investors, your advisors, to listen to them. Find the micro stories that help tell the macro story of your brand.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's a really interesting and useful tip, and I completely agree with you. Thank you so much. So now that we have a better understanding of what you do, let's dive into goal busting, our podcast, focusing on how to maximize productive time to achieve business goals. So, Rain, could you share any tips or advice for someone looking to improve their productivity habits, please?
I love this question so much because I am currently living it out myself. So I'll speak personally and creatively. My background is in documentary filmmaking. I'm in a transition where I'm starting to write with the interest of directing some of my own feature films, narrative films. So screenwriting is the habit that I have tried to create in the past year. I have struggled with that for 10 years. I have had success in the past year, written 3 feature screenplays. The only way I've been able to do that is by simply, I'm looking at the calendar right now, marking an X every day that I write. And in order to do that, I have reduced my minimum requirement for showing up that day to earn that red X to 1 sentence. And it sounds silly, but when you start where I started, which is I want to write 2 pages per day or 500 or 1,000 words, if you don't reach that mark and you think you won't reach that mark, you let that day be a wash. And that's a terrible, terrible practice if you're trying to create a habit and have long term progress and productivity. Small baby steps over the long term is the key. So for me, I can look at that calendar and I see 4 days I haven't written this month. And that really gets to me because all I have to do is show up for 5 minutes and do something. And that inch gets me further down the line. So that to me has been by far the most helpful tool is a visual cue and showing up very small, but every single day.
Absolutely, completely agree with you. The impact on your emotions, just knowing that you've achieved that every
Yep.
day, is huge.
I also want to include that having my minimum requirement to consider myself having shown up for the day so small, often I open the laptop, I write a sentence, I've done my part, but what generally happens? You write more than a sentence. You might
Exactly.
write 4 sentences. You might write the 2 pages you wanted to write. So,
Exactly.
and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just write the 1 sentence, but that gets me 1 sentence down the line, and that's what counts.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. I could probably expand on this particular conversation for another hour or two, but we need to move on. We've only got another
Okay.
minute or so.
That's
So
fine.
I mean, and I really want to get to my final question because I'm
Yes.
very interested to hear what you say. What should I have asked you today, Rain, that I didn't? And your answer, please.
hmm I think that you should have asked me how do we find our what call our narrative voice or our brand narrative, because that is the crux of all of it. That is the foundation of the storytelling internally and externally. Is like, what is our story? And that's what I think we should have, we should dive into, and the listener should dive into more.
Perfect. That's excellent. Thank you so much. And with the stories, I know that you have a book because I mentioned it in the introduction. There it is.
There it
How
is,
can
6 Second
people get
Story.
hold of that? I would really love to know. And also, how can people get hold of you? And an additional follow-up question, it's always a
Mhm.
cheeky one, this, is there a valuable free resource that they can get from you as well?
Yeah,
And I will put the
yes.
link to that everywhere.
Absolutely. And the answer to all of those questions is rainbennett.com. Even if you just Google Rain Bennett, there's not another one in the world. There's probably one or two, but my name will come up very quickly, Rain Bennett. And so if you go to rainbennett.com/goalbusters, there is a free brand essence exercise that you can go through where it has questions for you to understand what is your brand, what do we stand for, what is the story we are telling.
Fabulous. You're a gentleman and a scholar for doing that for us. Thank you so much. That's very kind. And I'll tell you what, I've added to my list of books that I'm going to obtain and read. I've added yours already. I was looking at your website earlier and I thought, ooh, I like the look of that. That sounds really good.
Can I do one small plug before we go?
You certainly may.
I'm in the very early stages of my next book, because this book, even though the bio says recently, it was a few years ago. And my next book is what we were just talking about. It's called CSO on the Go, how to become the best chief storyteller for your brand. And so most small brands can't afford a dedicated person for that role. Nike can, Microsoft can, we can't. So this book is going to serve as the manual for those smaller brands, startups, and solopreneurs on how to have a storytelling effort all the way through their business and brand, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, thank you. I can't tell you how much your message resonates for me, and how, because I've understood for a long time the power of stories, and to hear someone who specializes in that and aims it particularly at the solopreneur market, where it, as you say, it's very hard to get that kind of specialty.
Absolutely
amazing, wonderful. And I'm going to go and look at some more at your website now, because I've really enjoyed meeting you today.
Don't hesitate to ask me questions or talk. I genuinely love this stuff, and this goes for you as well as anyone listening. You can always email me. You can always reach out to me. It sounds a little cheesy, but I mean, I love what I do. I'm fortunate for that, and I love to discuss it. I genuinely do.
Thank you. And I get that. I picked that up as well from just the brief time that we spent together today. Rain, it genuinely has been an absolute pleasure and an honor, and very exciting to meet you. Thank you so much for doing this today.
My absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to Goalbusters. If you're enjoying it, please subscribe, rate, and review it on your favorite podcast platform. Your support is very much appreciated. And if you're ready to boost your online profits, skyrocket your productivity, crush procrastination, and see a positive change in your bank balance, all within just 30 days, this is your opportunity. Take my free 5-day challenge at www.skyrocketyourproductivitychallenge.com.